Right, so here's our deal. We're trying to work out all the chords of the C major scale. We're now no longer playing individual notes. We're going to play this scale in chords.
Okay.
Right? Now, what we said earlier was, how do we make a major chord? We make it with the 1, 3, and 5 of the scale.
Okay.
So C major chord would be C, E, and G. So when I look at the guitar here, everywhere that my fingers are, each note is either a C, an E, or a G. So that makes up that whole chord.
What about the extra strings you got there?
They're all, because my finger is here on the G,
Yeah.
E, F, F sharp, G. My finger here is A sharp, B, C. On the D string, it's D sharp, E. The G string is open. I have my finger down here on a C.
Oh my
note on
God.
the B
So
string.
every one that you're playing
Everyone
is
all
either a C, an E, or a G.
So you got even the open E string down here.
Wow. Okay.
So that's what makes it a C major chord. People get caught up in shapes, and this is how you play a chord. This is why you play the chord. This is why your fingers are where they are. So then if we jump to this and say, how do we make a D major chord? Can you tell me how we make a D major chord?
You would play a D, an F sharp, and an A.
Right, so that's that. I can play it from there.
So every string is either a D, an F sharp, or an A?
Yeah. Now we've got an E string up here,
Okay.
which I could
So that's
either
open.
make an F sharp there. But generally with the D chord you would play it from the D string here down. You've got your D major chord.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so you know that that's how you make the D major chord. D, F sharp, and A. Now if we jump back here to the C scale, and we say we're going to play this all as chords. You say we've got our C major chord. Your tendency is to think, well, the next chord is going to be a D. But as we saw here, the D has an F sharp in it.
The D chord has an F sharp in it, okay?
The D major chord.
Okay.
So that tells us we need to make a change in order for that to fit in the scale of C. Because we're only using the notes of C
Okay.
for our chords. So it tells you that you've got to play this next chord as a minor.
Okay.
You
I'm
get-
holding on.
Right,
I'm
hold
holding
on.
on real hard. Okay.
So, because D minor, if we flatten the third, a minor chord is always made up of a flattened third. So the third position in the scale gets flattened. So our D minor chord would be D, F, and A. And that satisfies this back up here in the C scale.
That's if you play a D chord in the key of C?
Yeah, you've got to make it a minor to make it
Cool.
fit.
Okay, I think I'm getting it.
So that means our second position chord is the minor because it satisfies our C major scale. Because it's got a D, an A, a D, and an F instead of the F sharp.
Why is it called a second position?
Because it's in the second position of the scale.
Okay.
You know, the second, or you could say the second chord in our
But you
major
also call
scale.
it second position.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, some of these terms are interchangeable, and people have different things. So then we come to the E, the third note in the scale of C. So we're going to form the chord for that.
Which is down here.
We can come down here and say an
E,
E major chord would be
E, G sharp, B.
and B. But there's no G sharp in the C.
Okay.
So that tells us we have to change that and make that a minor as well.
But why do you have to make it a minor?
Because then it will fit with the scale of C. C is what we're hoping to achieve. We're hoping that every chord we play has only the notes of C in it.
Okay, I think for a second I'm understanding this, because if you make it a flat, if you go
From G sharp,
G sharp,
and flatten G
to
sharp,
flatten G sharp, it becomes G, which is
Which
acceptable because
satisfies
it's in the.
Scale
Okay.
of C.
All right, I said it. I don't totally understand it, but I said it, so I must
All
understand
you're
something.
doing is otherwise it's a square peg in a round hole.
Right. Okay.
So what you're trying to do
Harmonically speaking.
Yeah. So what you're trying to do is make every chord you play satisfy this C major scale.
Okay.
So if you're creating the chords from anywhere else and it doesn't satisfy this scale, then you have to make it satisfy it.
Okay.
And usually the way to do that is to make it a minor.
Okay.
All right. So we know the first is a major chord, the second is a minor chord, the third is a minor chord. So then we look at the F, the fourth position of the C scale. So how do we make an F major chord, which is down here?
Oh.
How do we make an F major?
F, A, and C. So
Does
that's acceptable?
Does that satisfy
It does.
our need up here to have
Because
it on?
there's an F, A, and C in this key of C?
That means we can leave that one alone. We don't have to do anything to it.
Okay.
So that means we can play that one as a major chord.
Uh-huh. I see.
Move to the G. So then we've got major, minor, minor, major, G. Let's have a look at the G scale, which is
Right here.
nice right down here. So what do we do to that to make
G,
it G
B, and D, which is
Does
fine.
So that remains major as well.
Okay.
So we've got C,
Major, D is
C,
minor,
D minor,
E minor,
F major,
G
G
major.
major. Then we come to the 6th note in the scale,
Okay. A,
and A, and we look down here and say, how do we make an A chord? We go
A,
1, 3,
C
and
sharp,
5.
and E.
Does C sharp work for us
We
in
have
this
to
scale?
flatten it,
Yeah.
which makes it A, C, and E, which makes it a minor chord.
So the 6th position is A. By George, I think she's got it.
Oh my God.
She's got it.
Yeah.
Now, the 7th is an unusual one. Let me see if I got this right now. Yeah. So the 7th, let's have a look at it, is going to be B.
Right.
So let's have a look. So how do we make a B major chord? We do
B, D sharp,
D sharp,
F sharp.
sharp.
So we have to flatten the D sharps and the F sharps
Yes,
to Ds and Fs,
to a D and an F,
which makes it a minor chord.
which makes it a diminished chord. So
okay.
a flattened. So again, let me go back to the demystifying part, which is all
So
it is.
helpful.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It's all, the only thing that's stopping you from getting this is your fear of getting it.
Right. Okay.
Right?
It's a new language. It's just a new language.
Yeah, and just keep telling yourself, it's not rocket science. All it is messing with the numbers.
Okay.
All it is I'm flattening something here, I'm flattening something there,
Right.
to make it fit. That's all you're doing.
Okay.
So and you're the one that actually told me how to do it.
Because I said that out loud.
You just said it out loud.
Because I was reading your cheat sheet and I said it out loud. Yeah.
No, but
okay.
it's not a cheat sheet because we're all going to know it at the end of the day. So you're not taking anything from me I don't want to give you.
Mm-hmm.
So the B, D, and F becomes a diminished chord.
Well, okay. Why do you call that a diminished? Is it because there were two flattened
Yes,
letters?
That's what they call
Notes?
it, and it's to some degree it's about the sound of the chord. It's a bit and that's a whole other subject
Okay,
about
okay.
the
Lesson two.
names of the chords. But so now we've worked out our pattern. So
Okay,
we've
let
got-
me see if I remember. So C is major, D is minor, E is minor, F is major. I was looking at that other thing over there. G is major, A is minor, B is diminished, okay, and C is major.
and then that's what this looks and sounds like.
So let's do the whole chord
major.
progression.
So I'm going to do a major scale, which is just do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do.
Okay.
Do, re, mi, fa, whatever the next
So,
one.
la, ti, do.
So that's
There's a
C
song
major.
right there.
I was just gonna say, it sounds actually like songs I've heard of.
I've been hanging around this place too long.
F
That's where
major,
I'm going.
G major, A minor, B diminished, and C.
Wow.
So when people are playing songs and you're like, oh, I gotta figure out what they're playing, and maybe you can't see what they're playing, you know that it's generally you've got less choices because you don't have to worry about these other chords. It's all about whatever key he's in. So there's only 7 chords that he's.
But how do I know what key he's in?
You can ask him.
Well, you can
Okay,
figure it
then.
out. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
that. Or I mean, what I do, if somebody's sitting beside me here and I can't watch what they're playing, I'll hear where that root note is. What does
It's
it keep
whatever it
resolving
starts on.
back to?
Yeah,
Not
and then it
necessarily.
comes back to it. Like if somebody's soloing,
Not always.
you pretty much want to resolve back to the root note.
Not always.
Well, it sounds good when people do.
Yeah,
It's what
generally.
your ear would hear.
Right, it resolves
what it's
itself, right?
resolving
Yeah.
back to.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah, you're generally right, but it's not an exclusive rule
No,
because there
no,
are.
but I mean, in blues, I guess, because I did so
Yeah.
much of that stuff. In blues, you will always resolve back to your root note, to your.
And the blues, you'll always hear most pop, rock, and blues songs use the 1, 4, and 5, which is the 3 major chords. You can break a lot of songs down.
Most pop songs use
Like-
the 1, 4, and 5, not 1, 3, and 5.
You know, you can listen to a Van Morrison song and be like, what key is this in? And then just go, all right, well, it's in G. Then that's my 1, 4, 5. You know.
Hey, where did we go?
There you go.
Days when the rains came.
What are you doing?
He's playing G1, C, and D.
Okay. Are you in the key of G?
Crazy love.
How do I know what
Honey,
key of
3
G is?
chords.
Because you learn the scale.
Yeah, if it starts.
know-
You mean I would know? I would look at your fingers and say he's playing a G,
just
a
go
G
like
chord.
this, G A B
But hang on for a
C.
Hang
So
on.
that's when I
C, G, C.
that's when you it's kind of nice to know what a G chord looks like on a guitar, so you can look at it and be like it's G, and then it's pretty much.
It's
G,
hard
C.
with him because it's backwards from what you're used to.
But if you get used to saying, okay, he's just played a G, he's just
C.
played a C, he's played a G, and he's played a D, you're like, okay, there's the 3 major chords of the G
The
scale.
1, 4, and 5.
One,
Where
four,
might he go?
five,
He might
G.
go to F.
And the bridge.
Sometimes you'll go to
You
a
may go-
different thing in the bridge. You might take your 1, 4, and 5 and reverse some of those, and that makes a nice bridge. You know.
I'm almost
flip those
drooling
around.
from concentration. But that's amazing. I had another question and I forgot it.
And here's the other thing though, the beauty of being able to do this is, I've just played that
I
one,
remember my
1,
question.
4, and 5 in G, the Van Morrison song, and you really like that song. You're like, I really want to sing it, and you're like, but you know what? It's too high. I can't do it.
Uh-huh.
So what do I do?
You put the capo on, right?
You
You
could,
could
or
do that.
transpose it.
Or you can say, well, I know that it's 1, 4, 5, and G. Well, then why don't I play it as 1, 4, 5, and C? And then it's like, hey, where did we go?
Yeah.
Days when the rain came down in the hollow. So then, and I decide, no, that's too low. Maybe I'll go to D.
Because that's higher.
Yeah, so 1, 4, 5, and D.
So you can see how musicians can all play together just based on the one, like where you're starting and what your progression is. You can say, all right, I'm a 1, 2, 6, I'm a 1.
Hey, where do we
They would
go?
know. They would all be like, I'm on.
Days when the rain came.
Right. So when you were saying that when you play with other musicians and you say, okay, guys, it's 1, 5, and 8. I don't even know. But it wouldn't be 1, 5, and 8, but it'd be, right. So you.
Let's say 1, 4. I can say, okay, here's the deal, guys. It's 1, 6, and 4, and C.
And they would know exactly what you're doing and
Because
they would work
know
that
their
out.
scale and they know what the chords are on the scale.
You know
So
what
1
time you're in. You're not at a 3/4 time, then you know you're playing together. I mean,
Yeah, I can
sometimes
say.
people get confused if it's a 3/4 time. Like sometimes John Prine has songs 3 chords, but he does some stuff in 3/4, and people get confused with that. Little things. I mean, and they're like, why can't I figure this song out? It's because it's in 3/4. It's not in 4/4. You know.
Which is a whole other subject, though.
Right. Well,
But
we'll
I
do
mean,
that for
there's really
phase
not
2.
a lot to keep you back from just hearing
Right.
a song, knowing what key it's. That's why chordy is nice because let's say, like
Chordy.
like the Glenn song. I learned that. I just went to Chordy. It's a website where like let's say you're playing a particular song a certain way, or you've watched a musician play it and you're like, this is what this person's doing. They go on there and they write up all of what their interpretation of the song is. So you can go and you can see a bunch of different ways that people are playing. Like I'll do that with George Harrison songs. I'll be like, I want to learn that. That seems complicated, you know, and it'll be a good exercise. You just go on there and you can see 5 different ways that people are playing that song. I mean, there's the way that he played it and recorded it, but you can play it a bunch of different ways. You know, I mean, I don't know. It's a good resource. It's like a
Right.
Tell me
lending
what
library.
164 is in C.
C chord, A chord, and F chord.
What kind of A chord and what kind of F chord? In C,
Where's F?
what's
Okay.
the 6th position in the...
Oh my God. Too much.
Well, here's the easiest thing. Always remember 1, 4, and 5 are the majors. Everything else is minor.
Oh, okay.
Except the 7 is diminished.
Okay. Right. So that's
So that
easier
cuts
just
it
to
down.
memorize, right? So
1,
you don't
4,
have to
and
look it
5
up.
is the majors. Everything else is minor. So you know that 1, 6, and 4 is going to be major, minor, major.
See, that helps a lot. Why don't you write that down? Are you going to give her this?